Hello guys, welcome back to John's Workshop, and in this video we're going to do a little bit more on the welding bench come trolley. It's been a busy weekend. Apologies I didn't get much footage put up last week because of the boiler situation and various other things going on. So I'm going to try and get a bit more done on the trolley this week, and then we'll get back onto some machining, because I know not everybody likes just one thing or the other, and there'll be loads of guys out there that enjoy the machining, so I'm going to think hard about what's next on the machining side, and we'll probably get back onto a bit of machining for next week. So what I have done is I've done a bit more work on the trolley that you've not seen because I didn't film it, so I'll bring you in a bit closer and we'll have a look at that now, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the bottom shelf, and I'll bring you in and tell you what I've done on that in a moment. Okay, so we're looking at the sort of bottom deck now. You can see I've put two more supports on for the bottom shelf at the back. I've also put two more supports on here each side to hold the bottom plate where it comes to where the lower shelf drops down, and I've put a support on across the bottom of the lower shelf. So this is all finished now in terms of structure, and what I'm busy doing at the moment is just cutting some steel for the bottom plates, or the two plates, one for the sort of base deck and one for the lower deck, for want of a better expression, for the gas bottles to sit on. So I've just got to deburr those. I've done the cutting off camera, but I've just got to deburr those, so I'll bring you back to that in a moment, and then we'll start fitting that into position on this bottom shelf just to see how it all looks. What I've also done is cut some more steel, and basically this bottom shelf is going to hold two gas bottles. It's been made wide enough to sort of fit two gas bottles side by side. I've cut some more steel that's going to come up in an arch like this, which will then allow me to put some kind of chain, belt, strap, whatever around the top of the bottles just to hold them so they can't fall over. So that's probably one of the next jobs to do. But I want to make sure I'm doing that in conjunction with fitting the plates so that I can see where I can weld my next pieces onto. Next job, also after that, I've cut some more bits of steel. I'll just reposition the camera. So I've cut some bits of steel here, drilled four of these, drilled a hole in the middle. These are going to get an M8 nut welded onto the back of them, and then these are going to be welded into the four pillars at the top, and then I'm going to drill four holes, countersink them, and hold the top plate down with four screws as opposed to welding it down. And that was a tip from one of my subscribers. I think it was Dell, I'm not quite sure, apologies if I've got that wrong, but I thought it was a really good idea. So we're going to screw the top plate down rather than weld it on, and that will avoid any distortion or buckling of that top plate rather than trying to weld it all on. And also, if at a point in the future when the top plate's got really grotty, I can always just undo four screws, whip the top plate off, make a new top plate, drop it on exactly the same, screw it down, and it just saves a load of cutting work trying to get that top plate off. So that's the idea behind that. So we'll weld the nuts on the back, drop those in, weld them in place, and then we'll mark the holes back up onto the underside of the plate and then drill through to bolt the top plate down. So we'll just reposition the camera to outside. It's getting a little bit dark, but I think you'll be able to see, and we'll start just tidying up the bottom plate steel that I've cut. Right, there we go guys, that's got it roughly put together. So I've welded up there, and not very successfully actually. I was struggling a bit with the welds on this bottle steady piece. There's a bit of grinding work needed to tidy that up, but it's nice and solid. But I blew a couple of holes in the steel work, so I had to just sort of fill those up. But anyway, it's done. I've dropped the plates in just roughly so you can see them there now. There's 2 more bits of plate I need to cut, which will be, I've got 1 plate to go from the underside of here down to behind this plate to block this back piece in, and I'm going to drop a piece of plate down the front here and stitch it together across the front, and I'm going to leave the 2 sides open so that I can clean out and sweep out any muck that gets in there. But certainly front and back I'm just going to box that in, just more for cosmetics than anything else, just to make it look tidier. So 2 more bits of plate to cut for that, and that's about it for the bottom. So we're here looking at the top side, and I've got some more steel that I've ordered. I've already got these cut to length, so this is box section with other box section sliding. It's a really good fit, good tight fit inside. It is a good tight fit. I'll get that out later. Oh, there we go. So yeah, box section to slide inside there. So I've got 2 of these cut, and the idea being, on this side of the table we're going to weld the big piece across the inside of the frame like this, both sides, and then I've cut a spare piece of the top plate, the 6mm thick plate, which will be fixed to this end at the right height, so that I've then got a sliding extra length for the table that will come out a good 600, 700, 800 millimeters, something like that, and it will butt up to the edge of the plate that's sitting on the top. So that's really the next job in terms of the next set of welding. So we'll get everything cleaned up, ready for fitting these in place, and also, as I said earlier, fitting the little plates in the top here for fastening the top plate down. So that's next. guys, we've got most of the framework done now, so we've got the two side sort of tubing pieces put on and inserted the bits of tubing that go in there, the box sections, to slide in and out for the spare bit that goes on the end. And we'll probably be doing that in another video. And in the top of the 4 pillars, you've seen me make 4 M8 bits of stud with a point on. So there it goes then, guys. We've got the plate in the right position. It's touching all 4 of the pointed studs. We've got it clamped, and that's more just to stop it when I hit it rattling and moving position between the 4 hits. So we'll see what happens. That went well. So the question is, has that done the trick? I think the answer is yes, just. So I'll just bring you in, show you that. So there you go, guys, just the job. So I've just got a tiny centre dot in 4 places, and I know it's in the right place because I can see where I've been sliding the plate around in the dicing. That was always going to be the plan B. If I didn't get the dot, I was just going to go for the end point on the line. But I've got 4 dots, so these pointy bits, they were just sacrificial, you know, use once and chuck in the bin. You can see they've got the points now, go on, focus, the points now flattened off, so which I knew was going to happen because the plate's got a thick scale on it, and I knew that was going to be harder than these, but I was just hoping it would be just enough to get a mark, and it looks like it's worked. So next job, we'll get the drill and we'll start drilling these 4 holes out to the clearance on M8, and then we'll turn the plate over and countersink on the other side. Well, there we go, guys, that's got the top on. I think if there's ever going to be any civil unrest, I'm going to get a bag of frozen peas out the freezer and my pea shooter, a couple of crates of Guinness and a few pork pies, and I'm going to hold it out on under here. This thing is built like a tank. It's going nowhere. Well, there we go, guys, that's just a bit of a trial fit. So I've got my gas bottle in. I've got more than enough room to get my hand underneath to turn the valves on and off. I'm going to reposition that slightly, and I've got a bit more work to do in terms of fixing that in. I'm just using some cable ties now, just for now. MIG welders sitting in there. There's more than enough space at the right hand side here for the TIG unit when I get it to sit in there, and still lots of space under here for a drawer that I want to put in, sort of a drawer unit under here. There'll be a drawer unit that's going to go in under the base under here to pull out at the bottom, and then also at the right hand side here I've got my 2 sliding box sections. You'll see I've just fitted one of the thumb screws under there just for nipping that up. I've got the same thing on the other side. Need to shorten the thread slightly on that, but again, just bits and pieces. I've got 2 more bars to weld in under here just to support the top plate, but that's all just screwed on for now. So and I think at this point I'm going to leave the welding table alone for a while and get back onto doing some other stuff in the workshop just for a bit of a change. So really pleased with that, very solid. Obviously it's temporary at the minute, all this has to come back off, bottom shelf all needs to come back out. I've got some more welding to do, bits and pieces, and then we'll prime the frame, paint the frame once I've finished all the welding work, which will include the drawer unit and everything else that I want to do, and then we'll give it its final coat of paint, and then we'll reassemble it all, and then we're good to go. So a bit more work to do in sort of a few weeks time. I've got to go around all this top plate. This has just been sheared on a guillotine, so the razor sharp edges on this, so this all needs beveling nicely, put some rounded corners on the ends. I need to fix this plate up at the right height so that as it slides in and out it butts up against the side of the table here, but it's all at the right height for an extension piece, and it will also create a slot. You know, if you move it out just a small amount, I've then got a slot that I can use for cutting with a cutting disc or whatever into the slot, nice and supported both sides of the cut, that kind of thing. Can use clamps, clamping stuff down, and you can have both hands on the grinder, get some accurate cuts using the grinder. So yeah, really pleased with that. To say that was my first proper welding project, I don't think it's too bad. There's some ugly welds, some bits where I've blown holes in it. There's some, you know, I've learnt a bit along the way. The welding unit's not the best, you know, it's a little bit restricted really in terms of what I can do with it, but it's certainly over strong. You know, I've gone for making it far stronger than it needs to be, just knowing that there's going to be quite a lot of weight on this thing before I've even put anything on the top to start welding it. Just in its own weight and the kit that's already there's a lot of weight going into this. So I'll just pan out and close this episode off, and then we'll start thinking about what's next. So there we go guys, happy with that. That's been an interesting 2 or 3 episodes. As I said at the beginning of this one, I think I'm going to give it a bit of a break now just to mix up what I'm doing, and I think the next episode I'm going to do will be centred around machining again, but I think I'm going to probably change the way I present some things on the channel. So up to now it's all been around projects really, making this, making that, making tooling, making whatever, then interspersed with the blether videos when we do a bit of talking about what I'm going to make next. There's been a few tips and hints along the way, sort of from my knowledge and experience, but what I'd really like to do, and what really was the main purpose of this channel, was to try and pass on some of the knowledge and experience that I've gained over the years. So what I'm planning on doing going forward is probably changing the blether videos to be once every 2 months, and then once every month we'll do and I don't know what we'll call them yet, probably back to school or something like that, along those lines, where we do a bit of workshop theory. I'm going to try and make it not too heavy, but just drawing from the experiences that I've had through my career and through my training, to try and help other people out, especially home shop people, you know, who've maybe not had the training that I've had and the experiences that I've had, just to try and pass some of that knowledge on in the hopes that it will help somebody else doing what they like doing. So thank you all for watching, thank you for subscribing as always, thank you to the new subscribers. We're just over 700 at this point, which is fantastic. The magic 1,000 is getting ever closer. A bit of a way to go yet. So, but yeah, thank you all for sticking with me. I hope you're enjoying the channel, and we'll catch you all very soon on another video when we'll be probably doing the first one of the back to school type sort of shop theory videos, which will be a blend of machining and theory. Bit of a giggle. I don't think I'm ever going to get out of here. I have some stupid ideas. That was probably one of the worst.